And hello, everybody. How you doing? Dave Fennoy here, and happy Halloween. Did you like that little Halloween thing I did? That was a lot of fun. Um, Amazing what you can do on your Mac with no extra tricks, just fooling around and having a good time. Anyway, happy Halloween. If you're in costume, that's a wonderful thing. You can do this in costume because I don't get to see you. All I get to do is hear you. Hello, Molly Page. You're the first one up today. How I know you've been traveling. Great. Kevin Daniels joined. What's going on, man? We could be light today because it is Halloween, and some of you have kids that you're taking out to trick or treat. Some of you are dressing up as kids, letting your inner child out, and that's just fine. Thank you, Molly. Happy Halloween. Hey, Linda, how are you? As folks join, I had a couple things that I wanted to talk about. I had a old friend of mine, haven't seen her in years, call me. And, people go through a lot of different changes in life now. When I knew her, she was a dog walker, and now she's doing some life coaching kinds of things. And she said she has one problem, and that is fear of microphone. She says if she's just talking to people, they're in counsel, it's just great. But when she has a microphone in front of her, for some reason, she clams up. And I wanted to relate that. She was asking me if I could help her. I'm not sure that I can, actually. My advice would be forget the microphone is there. But I bring it up because I think all too often, and I know in my career early, I was guilty of this, we pay far too much attention to the microphone. We're reading and we're looking at it and we're kind of adjusting ourselves to be right there and sometimes talking to it, which actually may not be a horrible thing if you put little eyes and nose and a mouth on it. But I want to suggest once again, I know this isn't the first time I've said that, forget the microphone is there. It's not doing anything. It's not going to attack you. Looking at it doesn't help. Thinking about it just distracts you from what it is you're doing. So just forget the microphone is there. Once you've got it where it's supposed to be, forget it. Just do your thing. Just talk. And another thing, I came out of radio, so there was a point in my life where, you'd be talking to somebody, da-da-da-da, hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. And then the micro, oh, hello, how are you? I'm Dave Fennoy, and I'm on microphone. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. All right. Back at you, big man. Wife and I just celebrated our 7th anniversary. Well, congratulations. How's it holding up? How's it holding up over in California? Life is good in California, and we had temperatures in the 70s and 80s today, so anybody who's out there where it's getting cold, all right. I'm sorry. Where are the questions? Hi, Dave. Love the video. Halloween. God, yeah, that was fun. It was fun to do. Okay, talked about the fear of microphones. Also, a lot of people are interested in voiceover. They're knocking on the voiceover door and have had, some limited success because for whatever reason. But I was talking to a young man the other day. He was talking about possibly taking some voiceover training from me or someone. And he says, well, I've been doing this for a while. And, in the last 3 or 4 years, I've booked maybe 10, 12 jobs. But I've never felt like I needed any training. That was a look on my face like, oh, really? And sometimes you don't want to just bust somebody's bubble. But I did. I said, well, do you think the fact that you've only done maybe 10 or 12 jobs has something to do with the fact that you have never trained with anybody? He says, well, I practice all the time, which also got me going, oh, boy. The reason you want to get training is so that when you are practicing, you are not practicing mistakes. There are things that we do that we may be unconscious of that we're doing. A lot of people think, well, this is easy because we all talk. It's not as easy as you think. Every time you see an athlete, a musician, a dancer, someone who makes what they do look easy, it's because they've worked really, really, really hard at it, and everything has become second nature, and they were practicing the correct way of doing things. All too often, in the interest of saving money and not getting ripped off by some person who really can't help me, we try to go it alone. You can save yourself a whole lot of time and money in the long run, and heartache and pain by finding the right coaches. I'm not selling me. I'm very good, but I'm not selling me on that. There are a lot of really good coaches in voiceover in town. There's some people you have to watch out for. But I cannot impress upon you more how important it is for whatever genre it is you're interested in, or genres if you're doing more than one, to get some training from someone who knows what they're doing. It doesn't necessarily have to be a voice actor. It could be somebody who came out of casting. It could be somebody who maybe directs animation. But you want to find someone who can help you. And you should talk to a number. Maybe take a class here, class there, private here, private there. Because you don't just want to find somebody good. You want to find somebody you can understand. There are times you're going to run into a coach whose language you don't quite understand. Or maybe for some reason the chemistry just isn't there. You don't like each other. You can't hear each other. So I encourage you, especially if you're just beginning or have been knocking on the doors for a while and they haven't been opening, to consider taking some training. And even if you're an old pro, as a matter of fact, sometimes even, especially if you're an old pro, you might need to break some old habits and get some ears you can trust on what it is you're doing. I know there have been times in my career that really helped me. All right, enough of that. Oh, I'll get to the other thing. Let me see. Do we have any questions yet? Come on, man. You just want me to run my mouth. I want some questions here. Hey, Jay Gurley. Wow. Good to see you, man. That's voiceover, and the Voice Arts Awards are coming up. I know I talked about it last week, but hey, it's not till November 17th and 18th. And once again, I remember when they got started, and Joan and Rudy took a lot of heat from a lot of people that, why are you going to do this? The naysayers. By the way, be careful of the naysayers. Nobody ever thinks you can do a voiceover career. Oh, you can't do a voiceover career. What makes you think you can do that? Don't let the naysayers steal your dream. But your video has ended. Why? What the hell? Apologies. Just out of the blue, Facebook just blew me off. Wow, that's incredible. I guess I should get my money back. Oh, that's right. I'm not paying them anything. Well, I guess I'm going to have to wait for people to join me again, because you've been going, hey, what the hell happened here? Yeah, hello, Billy. Thanks for coming back, or maybe you didn't realize I got bumped off. Well, I'm back. What was I talking about? I was talking about the Voice Arts Awards. Thank you for coming back, those of you who are coming back. I don't know why Facebook just bumped me off. I wasn't being political then. I didn't say any bad words, did I? No, I didn't. Hey, Bada. Talking about the Voice Arts Awards, and that's voiceover. There are several voiceover conventions, a number of them. They're pretty good. I can't speak for how good they all are. I know Wovo is up, and I haven't been. Several people have told me it's very good. But my two favorite are VO Atlanta and that's voiceover, which is on Saturday, and the Voice Arts Awards on Sunday. They're very different animals. VO Atlanta, several days, and but that's voiceover is one day of jam-packed voiceover. A lot of industry professionals get together on stage, give workshops, not some workshops, but panels on what's going on. You have people who will listen to your demos and critique them. There's a contest for representation, and the person who wins may gets to do some promos for one of the local stations. So there's a lot going on, and as important, getting a chance to rub elbows with your fellow voice actors. This has become a very different industry from when I first started. When I came to LA in 1990 and started doing voiceover, you had to go into your agents to audition. You went to some studio to work. Between then and now, you have to have a home studio. You may only visit your agent once or twice a year, and very often you have one of those careers where you're not going into any studios anywhere. Mine is very mixed. I do a lot of work at home. I do a lot of work in some studios. So you didn't used to have a studio, and the amount of information you need to have can seem very daunting. And sometimes it is just a comfort to know there are other people out there going through the exact same thing that you're going through, and are a wealth of knowledge. I'm constantly impressed by what's being shared on Facebook in the voiceover community. People ask questions, people get answers, people get to learn a lot of things just because they're a part of the community and are willing to put themselves out there. And so many generous voiceover actors helping the rest of us out. And believe me, I benefit too. Nobody knows everything. So if you've been doing it for a while, you got some gray hair, you might not be up on the latest technology. So, it's a boon to me and everybody else that, so many people are doing it. You can always find out some information. All right. I think I may have a question here. Hey, Lisa Tillis, how are you? Let's see, what's this question? In case you missed the question I asked just before you went down. Oh, man, it was crazy. What kinds of things should one be looking for when in the process of making demos? Follow-up are engineers, producers selective with the talent they work with, whom they create demos with. Well, there's a lot of people doing demos, and some very, very good ones. And it's a necessary tool for you as a voice actor. So, let me answer this for you. In case you missed it, I'm going to look at it again. What are some of the things? Why does this keep jumping up there? What are some of the things should be looking for when in the process of making demos? Well, first of all, you're going to have to make several different kinds of demos depending on how many genres of voiceover you're going to be working in. Most people start with a commercial demo. I do know people that have started with animation demos or narration demos, but if you're looking to do a commercial demo, you want to find a commercial demo producer that has experience producing not only demos, but hopefully broadcast commercials, because there's a particular mix, a particular sound to those. You want to feature your voice. You want to show a certain amount of variety. As a matter of fact, this was a conversation on Facebook today. You want to feature a certain amount of variety, but not so much variety in what you do in your voice that people lose track of who you really are, because you, in fact, are the secret sauce of your career. My suggestion is the things you should look to change, instead of this voice, that voice, this voice, that voice, is your voice at different tempos, in different moods, with different kinds of products, backed up by different kinds of music. Just the kinds of products you're talking about, the tempos that will just naturally bring you into. If you're doing beauty products, it's going to have a certain feel as opposed to fast cars, as opposed to fast food, as opposed to health concerns, insurance. You want to have a variety of products and the kinds of music that drive them and things that fit your voice. If you're, fairly old and your voice reads, 60s and 70s, you're not going to be selling kid stuff. Contrarily, if your voice is, sounds like a teenager, there's probably some product to be sold to older folks that you're not going to be able to do. Make sure your demo fits you. Look for someone who is sensitive to that. Long time ago, I used to do a play every year. In one of those plays, I met an actor who was an older guy, and he had just a marvelous voice, kind of like this, and just the kind of voice you wanted to listen to, and could have sold you a lot of interesting things. And I sent him to a place that produced demos, and he came back a couple of months later, and he just didn't like it, and I listened to it, and I didn't like it either. You don't want to go to a place that is going to treat you as a cog in their demo producing machine. You want copy that is right for you. So you want somebody that's willing to take the time. And we certainly charge enough for it. Once again, there's some good people in town. One of the things I think you should be careful of, no matter what the genre, is make sure your voice is the star. A lot of times in animation and in video games, we hear demos that are very impressive, but you don't know who the person really is because you're hearing so many voices that have been altered, so much production, so much compression, so many sound effects that you lose track of who the actor is, and you want that to come through. All right. Did you build your studio? Any tips on building one? In my last house, I built my studio in. In this house, I bought a used whisper room. Now, the whisper room works great. You don't have to have a whisper room or a box that's somewhat soundproof. If you're in a place that's very loud, trucks going by, that kind of thing, yeah, you may need it. But if you're in a fairly quiet neighborhood, in a fairly quiet room, the only thing you really need to worry about is sound treatment so that you don't have sound bouncing all over the walls and giving you that funny sound. I'm sitting outside my booth now. It doesn't sound like there's any sound bounce. And that's because behind me, there's a shelf with all kinds of stuff, which breaks up the sound. Above me, there is some foam. Yeah, it's still up there. In front of me, beyond the screen, there's rock wool covered in burlap. So this room in the booth and outside are treated. That's what you want to do. In terms of equipment, I would get the best microphone that I can afford. If you could jump into like a used Neumann TLM 103, I'd go for that. Not being able to do that, there are a number of, Rode makes some great mics, MXL makes some decent mics. I know I'm leaving out some companies that may, AKG has a nice kind of copy of their legendary, what is it, 440, 440, I'm forgetting the number now. But it's a 240C, I believe, or C240. That's a real nice mic and about $250. And find yourself a decent preamp and get some help. There are people like George Whittam out there that can come through or give you advice. And you might have to spend a few dollars for that, but better to get it done right the first time than, constantly be worrying about, well, gee, is this going to work today? I don't know. All right. Follower. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Kevin, if you want to inbox me, I'll give you some names of some people beyond myself. Oh, yeah. Did it build my studio? Yeah. Well, I put this together, but Rama Rodriguez, what's up, man? Dave, I'm in a weird spot. I've done a bit of spot work with a few small video games, but mostly e-learning module type stuff. I totally need an updated demo and want to do private coaching, but uncertain as to what direction to go with, to train with, as there are so many great options, present company included. Thoughts? Well, if you want to do video games, I'm your guy. There's some other people out there that I could actually even name, but I'm not going to name them right now. But if you IM me, for some reason, just IM me, I can send you to somebody else. But I can help you a great deal with that. As a matter of fact, when I work with people, I promise you, you take a workshop from me, I promise you, you will walk out a better voice actor than when you walk through the door. You will have significant changes in your approach and what's coming out of your mouth and how good it sounds. A voiceover for video games is a different animal. As a matter of fact, every genre is a little bit different. Promos, very different than commercials. And in the world of narration, there's huge variety. What kind of narration are you? Are you doing e-learning, where you really do have to be, especially for kids, you really do have to be very crisp with your enunciation so that they understand every word. And of course, that depending on the age. If you're doing corporate narr, that's another thing. If you're doing, say, lifestyle TV station narration, well, it has to fit that station and what the lifestyle is. Are you doing the HGTV thing, or are you doing, the reality show thing? It's going to be different, and you have to be sensitive to that. But Rama, you got my number, man. Give me a call or drop an email, and we'll talk further. All right. What's the best way to find them? That was a question, I'm sure, about demo producers. Well, if you drop on into the voiceover community, you're going to find them pretty quickly. We used to have a publication, what's it, voice... Oh, man, I can't believe I went blank on that. But if you Google voiceover demo production, you're going to come up with a number of people. But the best way for you, Lisa, is to get in touch with me and let me know exactly what areas you're looking to get into. And I can point you to some different people. There's some very good people in town. There's some people out of town. If you want to do narration, it's one thing. If you want to do video games, it's something else. Animation, it's something else. I don't teach animation. I'm in a number of cartoons, but I'm a much stronger performer in video games. I have many, many, many more credits in video games than animation. So when people come to me about animation, I direct them to some of my animation people. All right, Ryan Everly. You mentioned that you've done audiobooks before, but you didn't enjoy it. Could you elaborate on that? What are your personal experiences of working in audiobooks? I've told this story before. I was doing promos for ABC a while back, and I walked in. They handed me a script. I said, it's one word. They said, yes, say it. Next. And so, you're good. Get out of here. I got a check in the mail a couple of weeks later. They'd put it on 25 spots for $5,000. And I always think of that whenever I'm asked to do an audiobook, because the price they're going to pay you is somewhere between $75 an hour to $150 an hour per finished hour. If you've been doing it for a while and you're really good at it, like some people I know, it's a different deal. But you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to have to edit. That finished hour is going to take you 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, depending on how many mistakes and how much editing you have to do. So in the long run, it doesn't pay a lot of money for the time. That said, if you enjoy it, go for it. Do it. I know a lot of people who are having wonderful careers doing it. Now, maybe they're not getting rich, but they're having a decent living doing something they like. And success isn't always, oh, I'm making $1 million a year. If you're not happy, I'm not sure that's success. By the same token, if you're making enough money that you're keeping mind and body together and you feel good about what you're doing, maybe that can be viewed as success. But the real reason, my attention span just isn't that long. It's hard for me to go into a booth and do more than an hour of anything. And that means, if you're going to work on a book and you got it today and it's due, just a few weeks down the line, you're going to have to get on that and crank it out. Plus, I'm busy doing other things, so other stuff is always bouncing up into the way. I'll have this audition and this job to do, and I've got to go out to this job, and I've got this other thing that just came up. So it's kind of hard for me to fit it all in. The audiobook is really kind of a marathon. But I'm going to say it again, because I know there's some audiobook people out there, they're going, doggone Dave Fennoy, what the hell does he think? It's not for me. But if it's for you, do your thing. Enjoy it. I'm not downing it at all. Not for me. If it's for you, great. I wish you much success with it. Okay. And yes, as I've said before, I've done 3 and hope to never do a 4th. And that said, just between me and you, I did just finish 3. Well, they weren't really audiobooks. They were kind of audiobooks, or actually graphic novels. March 1, 2, and 3. It's the story of civil rights legend John Lewis, telling his story of his involvement with the civil rights movement in the 60s. And Adam's kind of work I was proud to do. All right. Janet Peters, how are you? Dave, I'm exceptional at senior reads and do quite well with documentaries as well as villains. I have a very hard time doing corporate reads, although my voice coach, Keith Harris, says I have the perfect voice for it. I fear it every time one of those, and I get one of those for an audition. Which do you suggest I do? Find the companies that do mostly senior and documentary reads? Where on earth would I look for senior reads? Are there companies that specialize in that only? I hope to make sense. I hope I'm making sense. Part of it is making sense. I fear every time we get one of those. You're fearing doing the corporate reads. Okay. What is it you're afraid of? That's kind of what I would ask with the corporate, with the documentaries. If the fear is you're not going to do it well, but you'd like to do it, take a couple privates or take a class with somebody who does a lot of documentaries, who can help you overcome whatever it is holding you back or making you feel like you're inadequate to do it. That might help, especially if there's the desire to do it, but just a kind of a fear. Perfect word on Halloween, fear of this, fear of that. As a matter of fact, I meant to open up with that. What are you afraid of in your voiceover career? So if this is a fear for you that you're not going to do well, learn some of the ins and outs, some of the rules of thumb for the particular genre, the corporate narration that you're doing. Now, as for finding senior reads, I don't know of any company that is specializing in finding reads for seniors that sound like a senior or reading to seniors. I'm not sure which one you were talking about. What you might have to do is in your search for people who produce e-learning of some kind or corporate narrative of some kind is see see what they have for adult reading, and you can get my mind to working. I imagine there are some nursing homes that might be interested in audiobooks or short stories for the seniors there, whose eyes may not be as good as they once were, who may not want to actually read anymore, but they want their mind stimulated by information. That might be a way to go. We live so much in a do-it-yourself world. Perhaps getting in touch, if you create your own business there, getting in touch with nursing homes, offering a service of providing audio reads of things they might be interested in. Perhaps it's information they might want, like what's happening with Medicare, what's happening with various things that affect an older audience. Not sure that's a great answer, but it's what came off the top of my head. That was a really good question, by the way. Trey, what's up, my man? Hitting the sack early tonight. Just wanted to pop in and say, hey, Dave, listen to them. Oh, okay. Thanks, Trey. Appreciate it. Best way to find the demo people. I'll tell you what, Lisa, IM me. I'll give you a list of names. There's some very good ones. And, let me talk about those demos again. You don't want to just put yourself in the hands of somebody doing your demo. You want to be in partnership with them. Sometimes you may jump in to do a demo too early when you're A, not ready because your skills aren't where they should be, or B, not ready because you're not actually sure what it is you're trying to get out of that demo. Sometimes as you're entering something, you're not confident enough to walk into that demo studio as an equal partner. You don't want somebody to tell you what they're going to do for you and you have no say in it. Okay? You want to have a good understanding of who you are and what your brand is. So make sure whoever you are working with will pay attention to that. All right. I can vouch for Dave's workshops. Oh, thank you, Kevin. I took a weekend one and greatly improved. There was so much I didn't realize about how I approach characters, and Dave's ear found many of my problems, and his teaching was great. Ta-da! Oh, the check's in the mail, Kevin. No, seriously, thank you. And I tell you why I'm a good teacher, and I'm not saying this I've been doing this a long time, and it's the things I learned sometimes from other coaches, sometimes just in discovery about what I do. Not everybody who is a great talent is a great teacher. Many are. Some people just do, but can't tell you how you break down what it is that you do. Over the years, I've kind of broken down, you kind of reverse engineer what it is you do so that you can share that with somebody. And I've been teaching long enough now that I'm always looking for a new way to say the same thing, and finding ways to get people to pay attention to what's really important. I'm going to drop one on you right now. The words aren't that important. I'll tell you what's important. The character. The character's important. Don't make the words precious. Make the character's thoughts, feelings, action, their relationships, their attitude, their condition. That's what you're projecting. If you do that, the words will come out the way they're supposed to. All right. Is there a good market for the audiobooks? Lisa, see, I'm glad you're asking me questions, but this also tells me you're new to this game. Audiobooks are one of the biggest opportunities to get into voiceover that there is right now. As an ACS, I know one of the audiobook people will tell me, ACS is constantly on the lookout for people who can read, can be a good narrator for audiobooks. There's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and, yeah, another thousands of books that need narrators that don't have them. Think of all the books that have been written since the printing press, and some that before. The Iliad and the Odyssey weren't written down until much later, being printed. And all those books need voices. So, yeah, it's a great opportunity. ACS. And the other thing, Google audiobook producers. Google is so your friend. I have some friends that if somebody asks a question they think that they could Google, they love, how dare you ask me? Do your homework. I'm not like that, but if you're interested in finding audiobook producers, Google, LinkedIn, you'll find a ton. All right. Happy Halloween to you, Jonathan. Michael. Oh, thank you. I don't know when the audio version is going to come out. It's going to be a while because right now it's just my voice doing everything. But they're going to produce it in such a way, I don't think it'll be out until next year when they produce it with music and sound effects. So it really, has meat to it. Pamela, hiya Dave. Ooh, hiya Dave. How about Janet calling AARP's PR or marketing department for senior-orientated work? Oh my gosh. This is what I love about doing this, is someone like you, Pamela, coming up with an answer like that. And I hope she was listening. She was. As a matter of fact, she wasn't listening. She read your comment. Excellent. I love it. Okay. Yeah. And Michael Sessom says to Lisa Tillis, check out acx.com for audiobooks. As well, she should. We're getting right down to it here in terms of questions. So I'm gonna wrap up here in a little bit. If you have another question or two, just fine. I want to remind you again that That's Voiceover and the Voice Arts Awards are coming to town. Joan and Rudy, they do a wonderful job. They have such a commitment to the voiceover community. That's Voiceover is on Saturday, November 17th. The Voice Arts Awards, November the 18th. That's Sunday. And we all get to dress up in our tuxedos and our gowns. No, I will not be wearing a gown. And look our best and pat ourselves on the back, which we should do because we work hard and we want to recognize one another for the good work that we do. So, that said, happy Halloween. Hope you enjoy, and I will see you next Wednesday. All the best.